Welcome back to the community of the light, chosen one. The moment you stop reacting is the moment people start investigating. Let's be honest, nobody gets studied this closely for no reason. People don't pull out mental notebooks, track patterns, and quietly analyze your behavior unless something about you refuses to fit their expectations. This isn't curiosity. This is confusion mixed with disbelief, because in their mind your life was supposed to follow a predictable script, and instead you went off script without asking permission. You rewrote the narrative they assigned to you. You broke the mold they tried to cast you in, and that disruption, that refusal to play the role they wrote for you, that is what started the obsession. Here is what most people will not tell you. Behavioral researchers have long noted that humans become most fixated on individuals who break prediction models. Not the loud ones, not the flashy ones, but the calm, consistent, unbothered ones who keep progressing without drama. When someone cannot be easily read, when someone moves in ways that defy expectation, they get studied closely. You didn't crash when pressure showed up. You didn't unravel when things got unfair. You didn't start performing for sympathy or explaining yourself to stay liked. You stayed grounded when the ground was shaking. You stayed focused when distractions multiplied. You stayed committed when everyone expected you to quit. And that is where the obsession quietly began. Because nothing unsettles people more than someone who survives without advertising their struggle. The numbers stopped adding up in their mental calculations. You weren't supposed to make it through that season. You weren't supposed to recover from that loss. You weren't supposed to rebuild after that setback, but you did. And you did it without the emotional breakdown they were waiting for, without the public unraveling they expected, without giving them the satisfaction of seeing you broken. That composure, that resilience, that quiet strength became a problem for them. A problem they couldn't solve, a riddle they couldn't answer. So now you have got watchers, not fans, not supporters, observers. The kind who remember things you forgot, you said. The kind who notice your timing, your silence, your shifts. The kind who laugh around you but analyze you when you leave the room. They think they are subtle. They are not. Surveillance always looks calm on the surface and frantic underneath. What makes this almost comical is that you are not doing anything dramatic. You are just existing without the chaos they expected. No breakdown, no public unraveling, no storyline they can summarize to feel superior. Once you understand why people start studying you like a case file under bright lights, you stop internalizing their attention as pressure and start recognizing it for what it really is. A response to something they cannot control, cannot decode, and definitely cannot ignore. Number one, they are not watching you to copy you. They are watching to understand why you survived. At first, they didn't think you were special. They didn't see you as a threat or someone worth monitoring. You were supposed to fold quietly under pressure, the same way most people do. Life was supposed to rough you up, slow you down, maybe humble you in a way that kept you small and predictable. When that didn't happen, something inside them got unsettled. What they are trying to understand now isn't your success or your confidence. It is your endurance. You went through things that usually leave people bitter, unstable, or visibly damaged. Yet you kept moving forward without turning into what hurt you. That is the part they cannot wrap their heads around. Survival without visible scars doesn't compute for people who measure strength by noise. They expected you to announce your pain, post about your struggles, seek sympathy in the ways that make suffering visible and validatable. Instead, you processed privately, you healed in silence. You rebuilt without broadcasting the construction. So they start watching closely, paying attention to how you speak, how you respond, how you don't overshare. They replay interactions in their minds, searching for clues, not because they want your life, but because they want answers. They want to know what held you together when everything around you was designed to break you apart. There is also an uncomfortable mirror effect at play. Your survival highlights moments where they gave up, compromised themselves, or stayed stuck longer than they should have. Watching you becomes a way to sit with that discomfort without directly facing it. If they can figure out what made you different, they can tell themselves it was something external, something you had that they didn't have access to. A better support system, more resources, easier circumstances, anything except the truth that resilience is a choice repeated quietly over time. Because accepting that truth would mean accepting responsibility for their own stagnation. And that is a weight most people aren't ready to carry. Number 2. Obsession starts when their narrative about you breaks down. They had a story, a carefully constructed mental script that made sense of who you were and where you would fail. In their heads, you fit into a box, predictable, manageable, containable. That story kept them comfortable. Then you broke it slowly, subtly, but unmistakably. You didn't act according to their timeline. You didn't crumble when pressure showed up. Everything they thought they knew about you stopped working. That is when the obsession begins. Humans are wired to stabilize chaos, and you became a living contradiction to their sense of order. They start analyzing you like a puzzle missing its last piece. Every detail, every interaction, every choice you make suddenly carries weight. They aren't just curious, they are desperate. Your consistency and composure are now an anomaly they feel compelled to study. Their minds replay your actions over and over, trying to decode what they cannot predict, hoping to restore control over a narrative that no longer exists. This is why obsession isn't casual. It is driven by cognitive discomfort. Your existence challenges their assumptions about cause and effect, about effort and outcome, about who survives and who doesn't. Every step you take refuses to fit the version of you they have built in their heads. Watching you now is less about you and more about them, scrambling to make sense of a world that suddenly stopped fitting their narrative. Number 3. You have become proof that their excuses are lies. Nothing frustrates people more than when reality proves their excuses wrong. They have spent years justifying their own inaction with reasons that sounded logical in their heads. They told themselves it was the circumstances, the timing, the people around them, the lack of opportunities that held them back. They constructed elaborate narratives about why they couldn't move forward, why they had to settle, why their dreams were unrealistic. And then there is you, moving forward, surviving, thriving, doing it without having to explain or conform to their expectations. Every step you take silently exposes the stories they have been telling themselves as the fragile, convenient lies they truly are. They watch because you are living evidence that things could have been done differently. Every small success you achieve, every calm response to pressure, every boundary you hold firm becomes a mirror they don't want to face. It calls into question every rationalization they have leaned on to justify why they couldn't do the same. Your progress doesn't just remind them of what is possible. It forces them to confront what they chose not to do. The uncomfortable truth is that you probably started with less than they had, fewer connections, fewer resources, less support. Yet here you are, progressing while they are still stuck in the same patterns, still making the same excuses. That contrast is unbearable. It dismantles every justification they have built their identity around. If you can do it without the advantages they claim they needed, then what is really been holding them back? The answer terrifies them. It wasn't the world, it was the choice. And choice implies accountability they have been running from for years. If this is hitting different, go ahead and hit that like button. Let me know in the comments if you have felt this energy before. Number 4. They are looking for the trick because simplicity doesn't feel fair. People want to believe there is a hidden formula, a secret advantage, some trick you are using that explains your resilience. The idea that you simply chose consistency over chaos, discipline over distraction, doesn't sit well with them. Simplicity feels unfair because it removes the excuse. If there is no trick, no shortcut, no hidden advantage, then the only difference between you and them is choice. And choice means accountability, so they keep searching for the thing you are not telling them. They dissect your words, replay your actions, analyze your patterns, hoping to find the hidden mechanism that makes everything make sense. But there is no trick. There is only commitment repeated in silence, boundaries held firm, and a refusal to become what tried to break you. The more they search, the more frustrated they become because the answer is too simple to accept. You just didn't quit. And that realization is unbearable for people who gave up long ago. Number 5. Silence is a statement they cannot ignore. You stopped explaining yourself, and that shift created a disturbance in the way people interact with you. People are conditioned to expect justification, defense, or at least a reaction. When you offer none of those things, their minds scramble to fill in the blanks. Silence becomes the loudest response because it refuses to participate in their need for control. Your silence forces them to sit with their assumptions unchallenged and unvalidated. It removes their ability to argue, manipulate, or rewrite the story in their favor. Every moment you choose not to respond is a moment they lose access to you, and people obsess over what they cannot access. They replay your silence in their minds, trying to decode its meaning, assign it motive, make it fit into a narrative they can understand. But your silence doesn't exist for their interpretation. It exists because you have chosen peace over performance. What they don't realize is that silence is an active choice, not a passive retreat. It is a boundary that requires more strength than any verbal response ever could. Every time they bait you for a reaction and receive nothing, it confirms what they fear most. You don't need their validation. You don't require their understanding. You are not waiting for their approval. Your life continues with or without their input. And that independence is what transforms casual interest into full-blown obsession. They need you to need them. They need you to care what they think. When you don't, it shatters their sense of influence. Silence, in your hands, has become a weapon they have no defense against. Number 6. They are testing for inconsistency. People who study you closely are often waiting for you to slip, not necessarily to catch you in a lie, but to confirm that you are human in the ways they need you to be. They want to see the cracks, the moments where composure falters, where boundaries weaken, where resolve breaks. Because if you are inconsistent, it means their worldview still works. It means strength isn't sustainable, calm is just a mask, and survival is still conditional. But you keep showing up the same way. Your responses stay measured, your boundaries remain firm, your progress continues without the drama they expect. Every instance of consistency reinforces the uncomfortable truth that you are not pretending. This isn't a performance. This is who you have become. And the longer you maintain that standard, the more their obsession deepens, because inconsistency was their last hope for making sense of you. Number 7. Your indifference is mistaken for arrogance. When you stop seeking approval, stop defending yourself, Stop trying to be understood by people who have already made up their minds. It confuses them. They interpret your indifference as arrogance because they cannot fathom someone genuinely not caring about external validation. In their experience, everyone cares. Everyone wants to be seen, acknowledged, validated. So when you don't, it disrupts their entire framework. What they don't realize is that indifference isn't arrogance. It is freedom. It is the natural result of understanding that your value doesn't fluctuate based on someone else's perception. You are not ignoring them out of spite. You are simply focused elsewhere. But to people who need your reaction to feel relevant, your indifference feels like rejection. And rejection from someone they are fixated on intensifies the obsession. They become more determined to pull a response from you, to prove that you do care, that you are affected. And when you remain unbothered, their fixation only grows. Number 8. Your growth exposes their stagnation. Every level you reach, every skill you develop, every version of yourself you evolve into becomes a measurement they cannot escape. They watch you improve, and it highlights the fact that they haven't moved. Not because you are trying to outpace them, but because growth is visible and stagnation is undeniable when placed side by side. You are living proof that time doesn't heal or improve anything on its own. It is what you do with the time that counts. This comparison isn't something you create. It is something they impose on themselves. You are not in competition with them. You are focused on your own path, your own evolution, your own transformation, but their minds turn it into a race they didn't agree to run. They measure their lives against your progress and find themselves coming up short. They see you learning new skills while they are still talking about learning someday. They see you building while they are still planning. They see you executing while they are still hesitating. Every new accomplishment you achieve quietly amplifies the pressure they feel to justify why they are still in the same place. Why they are still having the same conversations, facing the same problems, making the same excuses. And instead of using that pressure as motivation to finally move, they turn it into obsession. Watching becomes easier than changing. Analyzing becomes safer than acting. Criticizing becomes more comfortable than creating. The tragic irony is that they have the same hours in a day that you do. They have access to the same information, the same opportunities, the same potential for growth. But they chose comfort over challenge. They chose familiarity over faith. They chose to stay where it is safe rather than venture where it is transformative. Your growth doesn't diminish them. Their refusal to grow diminishes them. You are just the mirror that makes it impossible to ignore. Number 9. They cannot reconcile your calm with your circumstances. People expect struggle to look a certain way. They expect stress to show, pain to be visible, pressure to break composure. When you move through difficulty without displaying the signs they expect, it creates dissonance. They know you have faced challenges. They may even know the details, but your response doesn't match the script they have written in their minds. This mismatch becomes a source of fixation. How are you this calm? How are you still moving forward? How are you not visibly affected by what should have destroyed you? They study your demeanor, your words, your energy, trying to locate the hidden strain. But what they don't understand is that calm isn't the absence of struggle. It is the result of processing pain privately, refusing to perform suffering for an audience, and choosing inner stability over external chaos. Your calm is intentional, and that intention is what they cannot decode. Number 10. They are waiting for permission to give up on you. Deep down, many of the people watching you closely want a reason to stop caring, stop analyzing, stop being affected by your existence. They are tired of the mental energy it takes to track someone they cannot control or predict. But they need justification. They need you to fail, stumble, or reveal some flaw significant enough to give them permission to dismiss you. Until that moment comes, they remain trapped in observation. Every success you achieve, every boundary you maintain, every calm response you give extends their sentence. They cannot look away because you haven't given them the out they are searching for. And the longer you remain consistent, the more exhausting their obsession becomes. They are not watching because they want to. They are watching because they cannot find a good enough reason to stop. Number 11. You represent the version of themselves they abandoned. Somewhere in their past, they had potential, ambition, dreams that felt real and reachable. They had a version of themselves that could have endured, evolved, succeeded. They felt the pull toward something greater. They heard the call to rise. They sensed the potential burning inside them. But they compromised. They gave up. They chose comfort over growth, excuses over effort, safety over the sacred risk of becoming who they were meant to be. And then you showed up, living proof that the path they abandoned was actually possible. Walking, breathing evidence that the dreams they buried were never unrealistic, just uncomfortable. Watching you is like watching the ghost of who they could have been walk through walls they swore were unbreakable. It is painful, uncomfortable, and impossible to ignore. Every choice you make echoes the choices they didn't make. Every win you achieve highlights the potential they left rotting in the graveyard of could have been. They study you not to celebrate your success, but to examine the life they traded away for temporary comfort and permanent regret. You are the living reminder of the version of themselves they killed, the version that would have taken risks, the version that would have stayed disciplined when it hurt, the version that would have believed in the vision even when nobody else did. And they cannot stop staring at what could have been because deep down they know the truth. That version of them didn't die because it was impossible. It died because it was inconvenient. It died because they chose to kill it. And your existence will not let them forget that murder. Number 12. Your evolution is unpredictable, and that terrifies them. People like predictability. They like knowing what to expect, how someone will respond, where someone is headed. But you keep evolving in ways they didn't anticipate. Every time they think they have figured you out, you shift, you grow, you adapt, you become something new. And that unpredictability removes their sense of control. They cannot map your trajectory because you are not following a linear path. You are not confined to their expectations or timelines. Every change you make, every new direction you take, every unexpected move disrupts their ability to categorize you. The paradox is that the less you try to impress them, the more attention they pay. They study your habits, your mindset, your decisions, all in an attempt to decode the how behind your evolution. But there is no formula. It is steady, organic, and entirely self-directed. You are a moving target, not because you hide, but because you refuse to stay the same. Number 13. They are not trying to expose you. They are trying to reassure themselves. The obsession people have with you isn't always about you. Most of the time, it is about them. Every note they take, every interaction they replay is an attempt to soothe their own insecurities. They want proof that you are human, that you have flaws, that your resilience isn't limitless. Watching you becomes a way to reassure themselves that the world is still predictable. Your calm and quiet confidence creates discomfort because it contradicts their assumptions about how life works. They want the narrative to make sense, and when it doesn't, they fixate. They aren't collecting evidence to undermine you. They are collecting it to answer the questions they are too afraid to face about themselves. Why aren't they like you? How did you survive when they would have crumbled? This obsession grows because every interaction with you reminds them that they aren't measuring up. Their mind becomes a constant loop of analysis, not to compete with you publicly, but to internally reassure themselves that the world still functions on rules they understand. Number 14. The moment they stop watching is the moment they accept defeat, and they are not there yet. Obsessive attention doesn't fade because people like you. It persists because your existence challenges everything they thought they understood about control and prediction. They keep watching because surrendering to the reality of your resilience feels unbearable. To stop observing would be to admit that they have no power over you, no leverage, and no hidden edge that could bend your life to their expectations. This fixation isn't casual. It is methodical, persistent, and uncomfortable to witness. They note your timing, your choices, your calm responses, your ability to thrive under circumstances that would shake most people. Every detail they scrutinize is a silent attempt to locate a weakness. But the more they watch, the more obvious it becomes that there is nothing to catch. Your life moves on its own terms, and that alone is infuriatingly undeniable. They continue to observe because admitting defeat would force them to confront an unpleasant truth. Some people cannot be tamed, predicted, or understood through the lens of expectation. Their obsession is fueled by the hope that one day something will slip. Yet still, they linger. The irony is that your unbothered presence quietly demonstrates exactly what they cannot face. Your life isn't theirs to manage, and your power is internal, unshakable, and independent of their scrutiny. The moment they stop watching is the moment they accept that reality. Until then, the observation continues, growing more intense, more desperate, and more revealing of their own insecurities. Before we close this out, if this message is landing, drop a comment below and let me know which point resonated most with you. Your engagement helps this reach the people who need to hear it. The reality is this: the intensity of attention you receive from certain people isn't random. And it certainly isn't about you in the way they might want you to believe. It is a reflection of the disruption you bring into their world. The disruption of expectation, predictability, and control. They watch, analyze, and obsess, not because they want to celebrate your life, but because your calm, your resilience, and your independence expose truths they are too afraid to face within themselves. You survive when others crumble. You evolve when others stagnate. You rise above what was meant to break you, and in doing so, you exist in a space they cannot reach, cannot fully understand, and cannot contain. Think about that for a moment. You occupy territory in this life that is completely inaccessible to people who refuse to do the internal work. You have built a fortress of self-mastery that has no door for those who haven't earned the keys through their own transformation. Every glance they cast, every mental note they take, every replayed interaction is a testament to the quiet power you wield. You don't need to fight, argue, or perform for attention. You don't need to validate yourself to anyone. You don't need to prove your worth to people who lack the capacity to recognize it. Your very presence is evidence of strength, endurance, and autonomy, qualities that cannot be copied, measured, or predicted through any formula or shortcut. And the more unbothered you remain, the more powerful you become. Not in their eyes, but in reality, because true power isn't about being seen. It is about being unshakable, regardless of who is watching. It is about moving with purpose when no one's applauding. It is about maintaining your standards when everyone around you is compromising. It is about staying true to your vision when the world is screaming for you to conform. That is the power that creates obsession. That is the strength that demands attention. That is the energy that cannot be ignored, copied, or controlled. At the end of the day, the fixation of others is not your burden. It is your reflection. It is proof that your life, your choices, and your evolution are undeniable. You are living outside their scripts, beyond their reach, and in ways that silently challenge everything they thought they knew about people, power, and possibility. You are uncatchable because you are not running from anything. You are running toward your destiny. You are untouchable because you have placed your identity in something deeper than external validation. You are unexplainable to those who rely on patterns and control because you operate from a place of internal authority they have never accessed. That is your quiet victory. That is your sacred rebellion. That is your divine disruption. And it will continue to unsettle, fascinate, and demand attention as long as you keep moving forward on your own terms. Not their timeline, not their expectations, not their definitions of success. Your terms, your path, your power. If this video resonated with you, make sure you subscribe to the channel to never miss a breakthrough moment. Like this video to let us know the message landed. Comment below with your own experiences so we can dive deeper together, and share this with someone who needs to see it. Because understanding the way people fixate on your power is the first step to embracing it fully. Don't let anyone else's obsession define you. Own your strength and watch the world try to catch up. God bless. Together, we rise toward the light.
Chosen one, listen to me with full attention. What I am about to share is not for everyone. This is urgent, sacred, and aimed at those who have been marked by God for a purpose that cannot be explained by ordinary language. If you are not walking the narrow path, if your spirit is not seeking God, you may feel uneasy right now. You may feel distracted, irritated, even tempted to click away. And that is fine. This word is not here to entertain the curious. It is here to awaken the chosen. Understand this plainly. You did not arrive by accident. This message reached you at the exact moment heaven scheduled it. Not early, not late, but perfectly timed by the one who sees the end from the beginning. And yes, it is going to change how you interpret your journey, because something extraordinary has already shifted in the spiritual realm, even if your natural eyes have not caught up to it yet. Your endurance has spoken louder than you realize. Your faith, your restraint, your ability to hold your ground when you could have fallen apart, did something unexpected. It brought joy to God. It shook the atmosphere. It disrupted the enemy's calculations. There were moments when you were supposed to break. Moments where everything around you was engineered to push you past your limit. And yet you didn't become what the pain tried to shape you into. Before this message ends, you will understand why your hardest season was not your defeat. It was your victory, hidden in plain sight. Stay with me. And before we go deeper, chosen ones, do what you already know to do. Like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Turn on the bell icon, share this word with someone who needs it, and comment 99 to declare that you are aligned with the divine assignment God has placed on your life. Now breathe, slow your mind, let your shoulders drop. Let the noise inside you quiet down enough to receive what is being released. I'm going to say it in a way your spirit cannot misunderstand. You were never meant to break. Not then, not now, not ever. I know there were nights when your strength felt like sand slipping through your fingers. Nights when you stared at the ceiling, replaying everything, asking God questions you didn't dare say out loud to people. You smiled during the day, but the weight inside you was heavy. You wondered how much longer you could carry it. You wondered if the pressure meant you were failing, if the silence meant God had moved on, if the delay meant you had missed your moment. But listen carefully. The pressure was not sent to destroy you. It was allowed to reveal you. Those who are chosen are not shaped the way others are shaped. When God places something powerful inside a person, life responds differently. Situations become heavier. People misunderstand you without trying to. Delays stretch longer than what feels fair. Doors close without explanation. You look around and you see others moving forward easily, and you wonder why your path seems so intense. This is where many people lose clarity. They assume pain means punishment. They assume resistance means rejection. But in the spiritual realm, resistance often confirms value. Think about it. If you carried nothing, there would be no reason for such persistent opposition. If your assignment was small, the weight would be light. What you endured matched what you carry. And under that weight, you did not become cruel, bitter, or faithless. You bent, you cried, you questioned, but you did not break. That matters more than you can measure right now. There were moments you wanted to react, moments you wanted to defend yourself, explain your side, expose what others did, demand accountability, make people understand the truth. You had every reason to speak, yet something inside you restrained you, something deeper than pride, deeper than emotion, deeper than the urge to prove yourself. It was as if God whispered to your spirit, hold your peace, keep your hands clean, stay aligned. And that restraint was not weakness, that was authority being formed. Because breaking is loud, it spills everywhere, it demands attention, it wants witnesses. But endurance is quiet. It happens in the hidden place, where no one applauds, where no one sees, where no one validates you. And that is exactly where God was watching you most closely. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. When you thought you were alone in your struggle, heaven was closer than you realized. Let me tell you something that will lift shame off your chest. God never demanded perfection from you. He looked for sincerity. He looked for humility. He looked for obedience, even when it cost you comfort. And you gave him that, even on days when you felt like you were barely surviving. Some of you felt guilty for being tired. You told yourself a chosen one should be stronger, more joyful, more confident. But strength does not mean you never feel pain. Strength means you keep choosing faith while you feel it. You got up on days you didn't want to. You prayed prayers that weren't polished but were honest. You kept your heart tender in a season designed to harden you. You tried again when it would have been easier to quit. That is not failure, that is maturity forming under pressure. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. Your weakness did not disqualify you. It became the space where God displayed his sustaining power. Now listen, the enemy did not expect you to survive without losing yourself. He expected compromise. He expected you to lash out. He expected you to abandon your values to protect your ego. He expected you to become reactive, defensive, restless, bitter, but you didn't. Instead, you stepped back. You got quieter. You observed more. You learned discernment the hard way. You realized not everyone who smiles is safe, and not every closed door is rejection. Some doors are protection wearing the clothing of disappointment. And while you thought nothing was changing, something deep was shifting. Your reactions changed. Your tolerance for chaos decreased. Your need to be validated began to fade. You stopped chasing explanations that never satisfied you. You started trusting God's silence more than people's noise. That is the moment where something powerful happens. God begins to trust you with more responsibility. Not just blessings you can post about, but wisdom you can live by. Not public attention, but spiritual authority. And authority is not given to people who break easily. Some of you questioned your worth during that season. You compared yourself to others who seemed to move faster, succeed quicker, and receive recognition easier. But what you didn't see is that God was not racing you against them. He was rooting you. Fast growth looks impressive until the storm arrives. Deep growth is what stands when the wind screams. You were being rooted so you could remain standing when others collapse. Being confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will bring it to completion. Philippians 1:6. God does not start what he does not intend to finish. Every delay trained your patience. Every disappointment refined your expectations. Every unanswered prayer forced surrender. You learned to trust God when he didn't explain himself. And that kind of faith cannot be taught in a classroom. It must be lived in the furnace. It must be forged in the waiting. Let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not give up. Galatians 6:9. You stayed in the process. You did not give up. That is why heaven noticed. There were moments, maybe more than one, when you thought, if this is what being chosen feels like, I don't know if I want it. God heard that thought, and he did not shame you for it. He understood the weight you were carrying. The strongest servants in Scripture reached exhaustion. What made them chosen was not that they never felt overwhelmed, but that they stayed submitted, even while overwhelmed. And you stayed. You stayed when walking away would have been easier. You stayed when nobody clapped for your patience. You stayed when silence felt like abandonment. That staying power is rare. That is why God allowed you to feel the weight, but didn't allow the weight to crush you. He knew your limit even when you didn't. Some of you don't give yourself credit for how much you endured without turning cold. You still care. You still pray. You still hope for people who hurt you. You still believe goodness exists even after seeing the ugliest side of human nature. That alone tells me your spirit was guarded. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Romans 12:21. You overcame without becoming contaminated. And here is the part that brings peace if you truly receive it. God was not disappointed in your weakness. He was pleased with your honesty, pleased that you came to him confused instead of pretending strong. Pleased that you didn't become someone you would later regret just to survive a season. So stop replaying the moments you call failure. You didn't fail, you endured. And endurance in the kingdom of God is not passive, it is active faith under pressure. Now let me take you into something many people don't understand about God. People imagine him as distant, severe, always testing, always correcting. But God is relational. God observes. God responds. And yes, There are moments when heaven rejoices in ways you were never taught to imagine. There was a point in your journey when heaven leaned in, not because you were doing something loud or visible, but because you were doing something rare. You were enduring without being corrupted by pain. This is what brought joy. God saw you choose restraint when retaliation was available. He saw you choose faith when bitterness would have been understandable. He saw you choose growth when escape would have been easier, and it shocked the enemy. The enemy studies patterns. He watches trauma. He analyzes triggers. He waits for predictable reactions. Based on what you went through, he calculated your collapse. He expected you to self-destruct quietly or explode publicly. Either way, he expected you to lose your alignment, but something happened that disrupted his expectations. You didn't respond the way your past suggested you would. You didn't become who your wounds tried to turn you into. Instead, you matured. You slowed down. You became discerning. And that silence from you was not emptiness. It was control. Hell fell silent because confusion entered the system. The enemy is loud when he understands you. He is aggressive when he knows which buttons to press. But when you stop reacting, when you stop explaining, when you stop giving emotional access, his strategies lose accuracy. He doesn't know which angle to use anymore. That silence you entered was not retreat, it was elevation. While you thought you were falling behind, spiritually, you were stepping into a higher level of authority. Authority does not shout, it does not announce itself, it stands firm. And when you stood firm without needing validation, heaven took notice. God is not impressed by emotional performance. He is moved by consistency. Anyone can praise him when everything is easy. Few remain aligned when praise feels unanswered. You did. You had days you didn't feel spiritual, days you felt dry, days you felt disconnected, days you didn't feel strong, yet you still chose not to betray your values. You still chose not to act out of character. That quiet obedience is power. The enemy expected drama. He expected emotional collapse. He expected you to expose yourself in weakness, to spill your spirit into places that would weaponize it. But instead, you withdrew inwardly. You reflected. You learned. You healed in private. Whoever is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit than he who takes a city. Proverbs 16:32. You ruled your spirit, and that is a victory many never learn. That is why certain battles suddenly stopped. That is why certain people faded out of your life without explanation. That is why some attacks lost intensity, not because you became invisible, but because you became less accessible. Your reactions no longer fed the chaos. Your silence starved manipulation. And I want you to understand this so you stop doubting yourself. Silence in the spiritual realm is often confirmation. When attacks stop suddenly, it is not always because the threat disappeared. Sometimes it is because the strategy failed. You became unpredictable in the best way. Not emotionally unstable, but spiritually grounded. You stopped operating from wounds and started operating from wisdom. God rejoices when a chosen one graduates from reaction to response, when they stop being controlled by environment and start being led by discernment. That is where authority is established. And authority does not need noise. Now let me go deeper, because some of you still underestimate what truly happened in the unseen. There was a moment when the enemy realized you were no longer operating from your wounds, and that moment frightened him. Wounds make people easy to manipulate, but healing makes people hard to control, and you crossed that line quietly. You stopped seeking closure from people who never intended to give it. You stopped explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You stopped begging for fairness, and in doing so, you removed leverage. That shift didn't happen overnight. It happened through exhaustion, disappointment, surrender. And that is why it was real. You didn't fake healing. You grew into it. You passed tests you didn't even know were tests. God loves when obedience becomes instinct, when faith becomes posture instead of performance. You didn't announce, "Look how spiritual I am." You simply lived aligned. You refused to give access through anger. You refused to give access through pride. You refused to give access through desperation. You became guarded without becoming hardened. That balance is rare. Some of you thought losing certain people meant losing protection. In reality, you gained clarity. God removed noise so you could hear direction. And once you heard it, you stopped moving impulsively. That is when authority settles in. This is why certain temptations don't pull you the same anymore. This is why old triggers feel weaker. This is why drama feels exhausting instead of exciting. That is not boredom. That is growth. God's joy came from watching you choose long-term peace over short-term relief. Watching you resist becoming reactive just to feel powerful in the moment. If you've been feeling oddly calm lately, even without clear answers, that calm is not emptiness. It is stability forming. It is grounding. It is evidence that you are no longer easy to shake. Now, let me explain why your silence confused the enemy, because many people misunderstand silence. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not avoidance. Silence is not fear. Silence, when chosen with discernment, is one of the highest forms of spiritual intelligence. The enemy expected you to speak. He expected you to react. He expected you to defend yourself, expose others, explain your pain, argue your innocence. Because emotional noise creates spiritual access. Every reaction is a doorway. Every outburst is information. But you closed doors, not because you were scared, but because you were done wasting energy on battles that produced no growth. You reached a point where you understood that explaining yourself to the wrong people costs more than it gives. And that realization changed everything. The enemy studies behavior. He tracks cycles. He waits for familiar patterns to repeat. But when you stopped responding the same way, his strategy lost accuracy. You didn't disappear. You didn't retreat in defeat. You became selective. You chose where your words went. You chose where your emotions went. You chose where your spirit was allowed to engage. And that choice became protection. Some of you thought being quiet meant losing your voice. No. You were learning timing. You were learning weight. You were learning that words released too early can weaken what God is building. The Lord is good to those who wait for Him, to the soul who seeks Him. It is good that one should wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. Lamentations 3:25-26. Quiet waiting is not empty waiting. It is sacred preparation. While others argued, you observed. While others reacted, you discerned. While others explained themselves, you were being refined internally. And refinement happens quietly. Your triggers became less obvious. Your emotional patterns changed. You didn't give the same access points anymore, and that is why attacks started missing their target. Silence starves manipulation. Silence starves chaos. Silence starves confusion. Let me say something that will free some of you. You're not obligated to respond to every misunderstanding. You're not required to defend your character to people committed to misunderstanding you. Silence does not mean agreement. It means disengagement. And disengagement can be strength. Peace is not found in winning arguments. Peace is found in stewardship of your spiritual energy. Your consistency spoke louder than any explanation ever could. Now listen gently, because this next part touches old wounds. The season you called failure was not failure at all. It was one of the most strategic periods of your life. You measured that season by visible results, by progress you could display, by answers you could explain. And because those things were missing, you assumed something was wrong. You assumed you missed God, or worse, that God had moved on without you. But hear this, God does not abandon what He chooses. He prepares it. What felt like stagnation was actually separation. God was pulling you out of environments that could not sustain who you were becoming. He slowed you down on purpose because speed without clarity leads to destruction. Doors closed that you prayed would open. Opportunities vanished without explanation. Plans fell apart at the last moment, and you carried disappointment quietly. What you didn't see was God reducing noise, stripping distractions, removing roles and attachments that would have conflicted with the next version of you. Failure breaks people, preparation humbles them, and humility is necessary before elevation. In that season, your ego was confronted, your expectations were challenged. You had to sit with yourself without constant affirmation. That discomfort was not cruelty, it was cleansing. You learned what truly mattered. You learned who stayed when nothing was happening. You learned how to hear God without external confirmation. You are not falling behind. You are being hidden. And being hidden is not rejection, it is protection. Exposure too early can damage what is not fully formed. Some of you were protected from success you were not ready to carry. Protected from platforms that would have magnified insecurity, protected from relationships that would have drained your oil. God was removing illusions. You stopped chasing things that looked good but felt wrong. You stopped forcing connections that required you to shrink. Quietly, your standards rose. That is not failure. That is discernment growing up inside you. Nothing was wasted. Every delay carried instruction. Every disappointment revealed alignment. Every closed door redirected you. You came out different, not louder, not flashier, but wiser. And wisdom is never failure. If God had handed you what you wanted back then, you might have lost who you are now. And who you are now can carry what is coming. During that time, you felt unseen, messages unanswered, efforts unnoticed, prayers that felt like they hit the ceiling and fell back down. And because you are human, you questioned your value. You wondered if you imagined your calling. But invisibility was not abandonment. It was concealment. Seeds are not displayed on the surface. They are planted underground. Darkness does not mean death. It means development. In that season, God was developing your inner life, your motives, your reactions, your ability to function without constant validation. You were learning to be faithful when no one was watching. That kind of faith is powerful because it is rooted in conviction, not reward. You learned how to sit with unanswered questions without losing trust. That is advanced maturity. Many walk away there. You didn't. That season detoxed you. It removed the need to prove yourself. It broke unhealthy attachment to outcomes. It taught you rest without guilt. And rest is not laziness. Rest is trust. Some of you were forced to slow down physically, emotionally, mentally. Your body demanded rest. Your mind demanded clarity. And when you surrendered, healing touched places you didn't even know were wounded. It also refined your discernment with people. You saw who celebrated you only when you were useful. You saw who disappeared when you had nothing to offer. That awareness hurt, but it freed you. You stopped chasing acceptance. You stopped overextending. You stopped performing for approval. And that shift prepared you for healthier connections. You learned to say no without guilt, to wait without anxiety, to trust without control. Slowly, your inner world stabilized. You became less reactive, more grounded. That season also protected you from arrogance. It protected you from tying your identity to achievement. It anchored your worth in God rather than outcomes. So, when movement comes, you will move from wholeness, not hunger, from alignment, not desperation. Now, understand this clearly, without fear and without confusion. You are being watched the entire time. Being watched by God is not about condemnation. It is about care and responsibility. God watches chosen ones like a master craftsman watches a rare work being formed with patience and precision. Heaven paid attention to details you thought were small. How you treated people who could do nothing for you. What you spoke when no one applauded. What you chose when obedience cost you comfort. Those moments mattered. At the same time, the enemy watched too, not with care, but with intent. He looked for cracks, compromise, impatience, bitterness. He waited for pride to surface. He waited for you to become rash, but he saw integrity. He saw humility. He saw restraint, and it disrupted his plans. The enemy understands talent and charisma, but he struggles to understand surrender. When someone consistently chooses alignment over impulse, his strategies weaken. You may have felt overlooked, but you were never ignored. Heaven recorded growth you didn't announce. Milestones you didn't celebrate, victories you didn't even recognize. Impact in the spiritual realm is not always dramatic. Sometimes it looks like stability, sometimes it looks like peace, sometimes it looks like consistency. And consistency is rare. God noticed when old triggers lost power. God noticed when distractions no longer held you. God noticed when your prayers shifted from demanding answers to surrendering control. That matters because God does not release greater weight to those addicted to control. He releases it to those who trust Him enough to wait. You were learning to carry weight without collapsing, to hold authority without arrogance, to move with wisdom instead of urgency. That is why God watched closely, because what is coming requires maturity, not hype. And now, because you endured, because you stayed teachable, because you remained aligned, something has shifted. You're not the same person you were when this season began. You're calmer, clearer, more discerning, more stable. After you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace will Himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you. 1 Peter 5:10. Establishment comes after endurance. Now listen carefully, because this is where many chosen ones become anxious and accidentally step out of alignment. What happens next is not about rushing. It is not about proving yourself. It is not about doing more out of fear. What happens next is about moving differently. When God is pleased, He does not throw you into chaos. He leads you into order. You may already sense subtle shifts. Your thoughts clearer, your reactions slower, your spirit steadier. That is transition beginning internally before it manifests externally. God moves within you before He moves around you. What comes next is clarity. not all at once, but step by step. Decisions that used to confuse you will become simpler, not because life becomes easy, but because discernment becomes sharper. You will feel less pressure to explain yourself, less urgency to announce your plans, less need to chase approval. That is maturity. Do not rush this. Many miss their moment because they force visibility before alignment is complete. You are not meant to chase doors. You are meant to recognize the right ones when God opens them. This next phase will require quiet patience, the kind that does not panic when progress feels slow, the kind that trusts timing more than emotion. You may notice new opportunities appear, but they will feel different, less chaotic, less draining, more aligned. If something requires you to abandon peace to access it, be cautious. God does not lead through anxiety. He leads through anchored direction. You need endurance, so that when you have done the will of God, you may receive what is promised. Hebrews 10:36. Endurance is not your punishment, it is your pathway. God will also teach you restraint in this next season. Not everyone needs access to your plans. Not everyone deserves proximity because they clap for you. Protection increases with responsibility. This is not a season of impulse. It is a season of intention. You may feel calm detachment from outcomes. You will still care, still hope, still work, but you will no longer cling. That is trust becoming mature. Do not confuse stillness with stagnation. Seeds develop unseen before they emerge. Honor the process. You may feel led to simplify, to clear distractions, to tidy emotional loose ends. Follow that leading. Order invites clarity. Clarity protects peace. Peace helps you recognize God's voice without resistance. And one more thing. Expect confirmation, not chaos. God confirms direction through peace, consistency, and alignment, not through pressure, fear, and frantic urgency. If something feels rushed, pause. If something feels forced, step back. God does not rush His chosen into confusion. He leads them into clarity. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. When you walk through fire, you shall not be burned. Isaiah 43:2. You have already walked through waters and fire. You are still here. That means God has been with you, and He is still with you. Now let me seal this word over you. Chosen one, you are not late. You are not broken. You were never overlooked. What you walked through was not meant to crush you. It was meant to clarify you. God is pleased with you, not because you were flawless, but because you were sincere, because you stayed soft in a hard season, because you chose alignment when nobody would have blamed you for choosing survival instead. Heaven saw it. The enemy miscalculated you, and now you are standing with more wisdom, more discernment, and more peace than you had before. That is not accidental. That is evidence of growth, evidence of preparation, evidence that God trusted you with pressure because He knew you could carry it without losing yourself. So don't rush what God is unfolding. Stay calm, stay prayerful, stay grounded. You do not owe anyone a full explanation of your journey. God understands it completely, and He is guiding you with precision, not chaos. And if this message gave you peace instead of fear, that is confirmation that it was meant for you. Before you go, chosen ones, like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, tap the bell icon so you don't miss what's coming next. Share this message with another chosen one who needs strength today, and comment 777 as a declaration that you are aligned, protected, and walking in divine timing. Stay steady, stay faithful, stay anchored, Do not fear, for I am with you. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you. Isaiah 41:10.